Welcome, folks. This is the fourth episode of the BenchMop Scrubs podcast.
Today, we are excited to talk about the NFL season. Right now, I got Obaid cracking up for no reason. We got
Sorry.
Danielle also on the line, and Yusuf just spent 16 hours praying, so we're good to go.
He's praying for the success of this podcast, guys.
I'm actually very interested to hear about your thoughts about the NFL MVP and your predictions, specifically from Yusuf, because he always brings in a wild card candidate that none of us ever think about. So let's go around the horn. Danielle, so Danielle, we wrapped up with you on the Bears conversation. I'll start there, then go to Obaid, and then Yusuf, I want to hear your crazy pick.
So am I going first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so my MVP is I feel like there's only a couple options, right? You have Mahomes, obviously. And then you have Rodgers, you have Wilson, who was doing well initially, but his team has slacked off. So for me, I feel like the MVP for this year should go to Aaron Rodgers. I have the stats pulled up for Mahomes and Rodgers in front of me. Mahomes 4,400 yards, 36 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
Did you just say 400 yards?
4,462
Okay.
yards. I'm sorry. 4,400 yards, 36 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 83.4 QB rating, which is amazing, for 14 games. And then Rodgers, 3,800 yards, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 83.5 rating. Obviously, as you can tell, Rodgers has had a better year and he has less talent around him. Mahomes, obviously you have Tyreek Hill, you have Kelsey, you have Le'Veon Bell now, you have the rookie running back CH. So they have a lot of talent, and besides those, they have other receivers as well, Hardman. So I think he's been dealt with that, which is great. It makes his life a little easier. Rodgers, on the other hand, only has Devontae Adams, in my opinion. That's top, and he actually missed 4 games this year. So in that overall, I feel like Rodgers is the better candidate and deserves to win the MVP. Plus, he has his team at the forefront for the NFC, and they are looking to close out and be the top seed in the NFC. And I feel like that's something that is a reason for him. I mean, that's a reason for him to be the MVP, as well as Kansas City is allowing 22 points, which is about 8th best. And then the Packers are allowing 24 points as a defense, which is, middle tier. So there's a lot of reasons why I feel like Aaron Rodgers should be the MVP for this year.
I think that's some great information. And one thing I do want to call out, to me, it feels like a bounce back year for Aaron Rodgers, right? He had statistically, he had a pretty solid year last year, but it looked like he was on the decline. The Packers actually went out and drafted a quarterback that everyone thought was a eventual replacement for Aaron Rodgers. And he came back and really, he really put down his story about how he wants to continue to be the quarterback for the Packers. And, he's put down, a kind of season that reminds me a lot of the season that Brett Favre put up right after Aaron Rodgers was drafted. And we remember how Aaron Rodgers had to wait a couple of years because Brett Favre just did not want to give up that starting job. And the fact that we saw Aaron Rodgers bounce back the way he did this year reminds me a lot of that situation. But yeah, I think that's a great pick. I think Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers are definitely my top 2 choices. Obaid, what do you think?
I agree. I think it's a 2-man race right now. It's Mahomes or Rodgers. Ask about a month and a half before, you can have Russell Wilson in that conversation. In the beginning of the season, he was probably the front runner for the MVP with the way he was playing, and he was really going by that hashtag let Russ cook. He really was cooking big time. But I'd say the dark horse, which I don't think he's going to win, but if I were to throw in one more candidate there, would be Josh Allen
Mitchell?
from the Bills.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Trubisky, of course. He's, but Josh Allen, but I think I agree with kind of your points in terms of him kind of having a resurgence, and let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers down here is better than 90% quarterbacks' best years.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get that straight. So yes, with his first quarterback in NFL history to throw 40 touchdowns in 3 seasons, that's phenomenal. Like you've had Peyton Manning's, Drew Brees, Tom Brady's, slinging the ball around for 25 plus years, and none of them did that. Rodgers did that. With his efficiency, only 4 interceptions. That's absolutely insane efficiency at the rate that he's going with. I'm not saying a scrub talent cast. No, he's got good talent around him. He's got a pretty good offensive line. He doesn't have a good running game, but he has Devontae Adams. But Patrick Mahomes has Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Sammy Watkins. He's got a lot of boys throwing him the ball, and he's got a great coach. Matt LaFleur I wouldn't consider him a great coach. He's probably an okay to good coach, but when you think of the Chiefs, you think of Mahomes and you think of Andy Reid. When you think of the Packers, you only think of Aaron Rodgers, and that's it. So I think this year, with them looming to have the number 1 seed in the NFC, which is going to be a really, really tight conference, I'd say I'd give the slide outs to Aaron Rodgers, who's most deserving to win the MVP.
I think what you just mentioned about coaching is huge. Andy Reid is known for putting his quarterbacks in the best possible position. Aaron Rodgers, even with his previous coach, not to throw him under the bus or anything, but Mike McCarthy, a lot of times it felt like he was, putting up obstacles in front of Aaron Rodgers by his play calling. And now this year we've seen him down in Dallas and seeing how, he's doing play calling down there and how it's really hurting the team. And so, yeah, I do agree with you. Aaron Rodgers, it just feels like he's doing more with less. Yusuf, what do you think?
All right, so I appreciate Ibrahim saying that I go against the grain from the
bro. You're unique, man. You always you do your own thing. I respect that about you.
I appreciate it, man. So this year is no different. I know a lot of people have their eyes on quarterbacks, but I'm actually gonna go to a running back, and I'm gonna say Derrick Henry. Okay, because for a couple of reasons, we have so many people in the league doing what they do on the quarterback standpoint, right? You just mentioned Patrick Mahomes could be MVP, Aaron Rodgers could be MVP, Josh Allen potentially, Obaid said, but there is nobody in this league doing what Derrick Henry is doing. This man is a beast, okay? He's got like 1,600 yards rushing. He's got 15 touchdowns, and he still has 2 games to play. And then at the end of the day, I think I think Obaid alluded to MVP, who's most deserving, right? In an era of the NFL where passing is like the biggest thing and passing wins you games, this guy's doing things on the ground. He's running the ball and he's getting wins for his team. And not only that, he's opening it up for Ryan Tannehill, right? So Ryan Tannehill has always been an okay, good quarterback. But what has he done since he's been on the Titans? He's thrown 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, over 3,000 yards passing. And if you can't credit Derrick Henry to helping him out with that success, then I don't know what to tell you. But I think Derrick Henry, from just top down, helping his quarterback being successful, helping his wide receivers get open, and A.J. Brown, keeping the offense on the field for long periods of time so that their defense can get that rest. Just all around, I don't think there's anybody more valuable to their team than Derrick Henry in the 2020 season. And I'm not trying to take away anything that Patrick Mahomes has done, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Aaron Rodgers has done. And like Obaid said, if Aaron Rodgers is not playing that great, a down year for Aaron Rodgers is like career years for other people. But, Patrick Mahomes is doing similar things to Aaron Rodgers, right? But who is doing something similar to Derrick Henry? That's why I think, man, Derrick Henry is a workhorse. He deserves that MVP for what he's done, not just this year, but yeah. That's what I think.
He's a top 3 running back. He's a phenomenal running back who shows up when his team needs him the most. I totally respect that. But this is a quarterback-driven league. You take off Aaron Rodgers off this team, I don't think they win 2 games. I do not think they win 2 games. With their defense, their terrible rush defense, their overall subpar pass defense, with their basically non-existent run offense, with their weapon. How many games do they win? They barely won 2 games.
I think here's the situation, though. I think you have quarterbacks.
You just said most deserving. Who is most valuable to their team? You take off Derrick Henry, their team, they still probably win 6 games. 7 games. They probably could easily win 6. He did not rush for 150 yards, 3 touchdowns every single game. He's had pretty average to below average games to start the season off, by the way. And the Titans started like 6-0 or 5-1, I believe. That was the record to start off. Despite the way Derrick Henry is playing, he has picked it up like the beast he is the last 5 to 6 weeks that they've been playing.
That's what he does.
I understand that, but all I'm saying is that does not put him in the MVP conversation. Realistically, he is a phenomenal, and I'm not taking anything away from this brother. He can play the game of football and he can pound you. Whoever, if you have been a victim of Derrick Henry's stiff arm, you're entitled to financial compensation. But the thing is that that still doesn't put him in the same league as Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. That's the thing.
So I do want to call out one thing about, Henry. He's had a great year. And just a quick call out. Week 1, he had 116 yards. Week 3, 119 with 2 touchdowns. Week 5, because they had a bye week on the week 4, he only had 57 yards, but he also had 2 touchdowns. He was still cooking at the beginning of the season. So let's not discredit that. It's just these last, I want to say the last month and a half, he's just been on a tear. But I do get what you're saying, but I got to give some weight to what Yusuf is saying as well. And one thing that I don't think we do it as people that watch football, we don't give enough credit to people outside the QB position.
Exactly.
And the reason for that is because the quarterback has just a disproportional impact compared to the rest of the team. Like, you could have a great quarterback and they'll carry your team, or you can have a terrible quarterback and a great team and they'll take you to different other direction. But it would be cool to see, Henry get an MVP for the season he's putting together. Realistically, though, I think it's going to be a quarterback win the MVP, and he might win Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I think that's kind of why I just feel like we need to shed some light on what Derrick Henry's been able to do this season, and put himself in a category where, like you said, this is such a quarterback-driven award too. It's not Derrick Henry's fault that the snap goes to the quarterback every single play, pretty much. But despite that, to be able to make a difference in a game, the way he's able to do on the ground, is very, very remarkable. And I don't think you can just kind of shy away from that and put it away like it's just kind of,
I don't remember Yusuf you saying that last year Christian McCaffrey should have been MVP when he had probably one of the best statistical years of all time for a running back. I don't remember you saying that for Christian McCaffrey.
Nobody asked.
We brought it up all the time. We brought it up all the time.
We did not have a podcast at that time.
I don't recall you ever saying a running back. But the minute we bring up Aaron Rodgers, you get triggered and choose against him. Don't act like I don't know what this is about, all right? You could have chosen anybody. And by the way, Alvin Kamara was having a better, if not the same level season until Drew Brees got injured, by the way, rushing and receiving. So the valuability, is that even a word? I don't care if that's a word. But the value of Alvin Kamara is as much as Derrick Henry for this team. Okay, they're driven the same way. They're running back. The last running back to win MVP or last non-QB was Adrian Peterson when he almost broke the rushing record after the season after he tore his ACL. That deserved the MVP because without Adrian Peterson, that Vikings team wasn't winning more than 2-3 games. He carried that team on his back. That's what he did.
And that's a great call out. Sorry, just wanted to say this. In the last 20 years, there have only been 2 seasons where the MVP was not a quarterback. It was 2012 with Adrian Peterson and 2006 with LaDainian Tomlinson. So, yeah, it's usually a QB. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Yusuf, I actually respect you saying that because I totally agree. I think Derrick Henry doesn't, and running backs in general, don't get the credit that they deserve. And the one thing is with Derrick Henry, I think what Yusuf's trying to say, Obaid, is that, you have your top tier quarterbacks, which you can put in the same frame as, you got Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Mahomes for running backs. In my opinion, I think Derrick Henry is above all the other running backs. And when I say that, it's not about receptions, it's more about just rushing. he's a beast among boys, in my opinion. You guys have seen the stiff arms, those memes about him, but I think that's what separates him. I think the one thing I respect about him is like he turns it on at the end of the year as well as in the playoffs. Do you guys remember last year in the playoffs,
Yep.
man? It was all about Derrick Henry averaging like 175, 200 yards a game. And I agree that, you know, the quarterbacks are the ones that have the ball in their hands the most, but I can definitely see, you know, a dark horse, Yusuf, and I appreciate you bringing him up as being a candidate for MVP. I'm not saying he's going to win or he should win, but he definitely deserves to be in the top 3, 4 discussion for the MVP because of the impact he has on the defense, off on his defense with, you know, keeping them off the sideline, as well as his quarterback, like Yusuf spoke. So I think it's a valid point. I'm not gonna go against it like Obey is, but I mean I'll go with
I'm not going against it, guys. Go ahead.
you're
Go
calling
ahead,
him out
finish
though.
it.
So Obey, do you agree with Yusuf then? All right, MVP voting.
Hey,
Derrick Henry for MVP.
I don't disagree that Derrick Henry is an amazing running back that the Titans, you know, they abuse the guy. He has 321 carries. I don't remember the last time, aside from McCaffrey last year, that a running back had that many rushing attempts. That's insane. That means that, by the way, fantasy-wise, that usually indicates a downfall the next year. So FYI for those I know you guys don't really know what the fantasy playoffs is all about like I do, but you know that usually means that he's gonna take a tumble next year. So, but
for the record, he had over 300 carries last year. Just saying.
There you go. See, they're abusing him. I don't think he's going to keep this up. He is a phenomenal running back, but he is no way as valuable to his team as Aaron Rodgers is. And I would say even Russell Wilson. He's not in the MVP conversation anymore, but Russell Wilson off the Seahawks team wins one game. Who's throwing the ball with that offensive line and that non-existent defense? Guys, get real. It's a quarterback league.
Trubisky.
Come on, guys. Yeah.
Always comes back to Mitch.
It is.
Alrighty. Well, great conversation about MVP predictions.
If he beats the Packers, Yusuf is going to vote for him for MVP.
Well, we'll probably get to this, but you know, if the Packers don't really have anything to play for, then I could see the Bears winning that final game. Hopefully.
Yep.
You know, that's a great segue into the last topic I have on my end. Let's talk playoff predictions. So, Obey, do you want to kick us off?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Well, looking at the playoff prediction, well, I guess the 7 teams that I think will come out from each conference, I'll kind of lay it out on you, and I'll probably put the correct order. I'm going to say the Chiefs will win the 1 seed in the AFC. The Bills will be the number 2 seed. I do think the 3 seed will be the Tennessee Titans. The 4 seed will be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then the 3 wildcard teams, my opinion, are going to be this is a tough one, are going to be the Colts, the Browns, and the Ravens. Those are going to be my 3 3 playoff teams. And I think kind of breaking it down, I do think whatever way you want to cook it up, the AFC is basically the Kansas City Chiefs and everybody else. Truthfully, I really do think that. And the big takeaway is how they've dominated the good teams as well. How they blew apart the Ravens, how they blew apart the Titans in the playoffs last year, how they beat the Bills, and inevitably, if they end up facing the Browns, they're going to blow them up. So I don't think that the AFC is basically down to the Kansas City Chiefs, barring an unfortunate injury or unforeseen circumstance with COVID and whatnot. I do think that it is their conference to lose. Now, that being said, the second team that might be a team to look out for is surprisingly the team that lost big time to the Chiefs earlier in the year would be the Baltimore Ravens. One reason why is Lamar Jackson seems to have found his groove back, I think.
He just had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, he did. He just had to take look, man, we all need to take a dookie sometimes. It just changes who we are. I think that the Ravens, especially with their known pedigree, with John Harbaugh, that ferocious defense, and I think hopefully Lamar Jackson taking that next step and playing better, I think the Ravens are, my opinion, the second most dangerous team in the AFC. And I'm not going to overlook the Buffalo Bills because I think they're for real and they're going to be here for a long time. And Josh Allen is going to be somebody that is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the AFC. Him and Mahomes are going to have many classics in the playoffs. I can already see that, but I just think this year with just kind of overall coaching and everything going on, I think it'll come down to the Chiefs and I think the Ravens as well. That's what I think it's going to happen. Kind of going down to the NFC. NFC is a lot tighter. You don't have a clear-cut favorite, in my opinion. Each team has its deficiencies. Each team has its own strengths now. The 7 teams that I think will make the playoffs. Definitely, you have the 4 division winners. You have the Packers, Saints, Seahawks, and then the Rams, I believe, would also win their division. But then again, they did lose to the Jets last week, so I don't know anymore what the hell's going on with the LA Rams at this point. But I do think they'll squeeze out the not the division. They'll squeeze it into the playoffs because they play the same division as the Seahawks. And I do think the winner of the NFC East is probably going to be the Washington Redskins. Because
they're no longer called the Redskins. By the way.
Sorry, I apologize. Washington football team.
Yes, there we go.
WFT. And my bold prediction for these playoffs is whomsoever plays the Washington football team or the winner of any winner of the NFC East, they're going to win their first game. Whoever they face, they're going to win. It's going to be like the Seahawks with Marshawn Lynch when the Saints came and the Seahawks were 7-9 and won their division. The Seahawks won. I think it's going to be the same thing. That's my bold NFC prediction, I guess, is whomsoever comes to play them, they're going to, the football team is going to beat them. I don't think the Bears will make the playoffs. I do think the Cardinals, along with the Buccaneers and the football team, will end up making to round off the 7 teams of the playoffs.
You're breaking a lot of hearts in Chicago by not picking the Bears.
I know. I just, every time I break a Chicago heart, I get so much happier, and that's just, what it is. The winner of the NFC, it's going to come down to my opinion, the Seahawks and Packers. My preseason prediction for the Super Bowl was Seahawks and Chiefs, with the Seahawks winning, but I don't know if they can do. I'm going to say Seahawks are going to win the NFC this time, even though they're kind of going under the radar. But I'm going to say Seahawks versus Chiefs in the Super Bowl, with the Chiefs winning this time.
So you have the Seahawks beating your MVP pick.
No. I said
talk about loyalty.
My preseason,
yeah, he does.
No. My preseason pick was Seahawks over Chiefs, but right now it's Seahawks versus Chiefs. I have the Chiefs winning. And the Packers.
No, but I'm saying your
second.
MVP pick is Aaron Rodgers, and you have the Seahawks beating Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, I have the Seahawks beating the Green Bay Packers, not just Aaron Rodgers. It's the entire team that plays.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think about his picks, Yusuf?
I agree to a certain extent, and that's very rare for me and Ubayd to do.
Yeah, that's. Dude, are you okay, bro?
I know. Very, very limited times do we do this. But I'll just run through my guys real quick and my predictions. With the AFC, like Ubayd said, I think that conference belongs to the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, who I think is one of the greatest coaches of all time. Yep. We can talk about that at a later
Yusuf,
time.
you don't have the Titans and Derrick Henry going to the Super Bowl? That's crazy because he's the MVP, right?
It's they're playing the entire Tennessee team.
There you
go.
Good catch.
But
he wasn't ready.
No, so the Chiefs will be number 1. The Bills will be number 2. I think what Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and that entire organization has been able to accomplish this year has been phenomenal. Number 3, though, I think is the Cleveland Browns. Okay, they're going to move up because they're playing the Jets, who I think they'll beat. And I think what they did against the Ravens, that was one heck of a game, man, last week. They'll play the Steelers in their final game, and the Steelers are just falling apart. And maybe they were always like this and they had an easy schedule. I don't know. But I feel like the Browns will win their last 2 games and move up to number 3. I think the Indianapolis Colts will be number 4. The Titans will be number 5 because I don't see the Titans beating the Packers. this coming week. And the Steelers will drop down to number 6, and then the final wild card spot will go to the Baltimore Ravens, like Ubaid alluded to. But ultimately, given everything that happens, I think it'll be a Chiefs-Bills showdown in the AFC Championship, and the ball can go anyway, it can bounce anyway, like Ibrahim was saying, So, but I do, I have my money on Patrick Mahomes and going to the Super Bowl again. As far as the NFC, the Packers will be the number 1 team. The Saints at number 2. The Seahawks will have the 3rd seed. The Washington football team will be number 4. I think the Bucks will have the 5th seed. The Rams will have the 6th seed. And cautiously optimistic, baby, Chicago Bears will slide in at the number 7 spot. And my very, 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 very bold prediction for the playoffs is if the Bears do slide into number 7, that would mean they would go head to head against the New Orleans Saints, who they almost beat in the regular season. They're clicking in all cylinders. The Bears will upset the Saints in the first round and move on. And then they'll ultimately have to play, I think, the Packers. And, as much of a Bears fan I am, Aaron Rodgers is something else. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers will beat the Bears in the playoffs. It'll be a Packers-Seahawks.
That's crazy.
What?
That's crazy.
Yeah. I know. I got to be realistic at some point. But it'll be the Packers and Seahawks in the NFC Championship. And I think, man, this year, to be honest, Aaron Rodgers is a man on a mission. Him and Devontae Adams are clicking. Aaron Jones is providing a very good run game. I think the Packers and Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, and we're going to have a fantastic matchup where we have Patrick Mahomes go one-on-one against Aaron Rodgers, along with their respective teams, Ubaid. But I think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid will win again, and they'll go back-to-back.
I love the loyalty. Yusuf, I think you've been picking the Bears to go to the playoffs every year for the past 27 years.
Bear down.
So I respect the consistency there.
Yeah.
I do agree with both of you. I do have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl. I think it's a toss-up between the Seahawks and the Packers to meet them there. But Danielle, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually agree with Ubaid. We have similar picks to go to the Super Bowl. So we'll go to the AFC first. I have Kansas City first, Buffalo 2, Pittsburgh 3, Tennessee Titans 4, 5 is going to be Cleveland, Indianapolis 6, and then 7 is between Miami and the Ravens, and I think the Ravens are going to get in because the Dolphins have a tough schedule. They're playing against the Raiders as well as the Bills, so I'm pretty sure they're going to lose one of them. And the Baltimore Ravens are playing against the Giants and the Bengals, and I think they should be able to win one of those. So in the AFC, I have the 2 teams. Obviously, like everyone said, I think the Chiefs are amazing, and I think they're head and shoulders above all the other teams in the AFC. Their defense is a concern, but they're number 2 in interceptions, so I think that's going to help them. Steelers looked really, really good initially. They were undefeated. People were talking about how they might go undefeated for the year, but they've struggled in the past couple of games, losing to teams that they shouldn't lose to. So I have definitely lost faith in them. So the Chiefs coming out, but I have them playing the Tennessee Titans in the AFC showdown. I think that's going to be a tough matchup. And as I said, I'm a Derrick Henry fan as well as Yusuf. So I think in the playoffs, running game matters. And I think the Titans have the best running game. And surprisingly, you guys might not know this, but they have the best offense when it comes to points. They're number 1 in points. So obviously that's important and will be helpful for them when they're playing these good teams in the playoffs. But I have the Chiefs coming out. I think they're going to be able to beat them with Mahomes and Hill and Kelsey. Too much talent, too much fireworks over there. Unless there's an injury, I don't see them losing in the AFC. In the NFC, I have the Packers are going to be number 1 seed, hopefully, because as a Bears fan, we want them to get that number 1 seed locked up sooner than later. Not that I'm a Packers fan
I know.
or anything, but number 2 Saints, then the Seahawks. I think Washington's gonna come out since they're a game up, and they've been playing really well. Their defense is top 5, so I think that's definitely true. And then we have the Rams who've been playing well, lost a tough one, but they've been good. The Buccaneers, and then I also have the Bears coming out. I think
Oh, there you
Arizona.
go,
Surprise,
Daniel.
surprise.
Yes. Well, Arizona's playing. Realistically, think about it. The Arizona Cardinals are playing. They're playing the Rams, and then they're also playing San Francisco. I'm pretty sure they're going to lose one of those games, and the Bears should beat the Jaguars. And hoping that the Packers, solidify the number 1 seed. I think they're not going to play their stars, and I think the Bears are going to come out. It's funny also looking at Yusuf, right? I mean, a couple of weeks ago,
It's always
Yusuf was
funny
talking
looking
about,
at
hey.
Yusuf.
It's funny because thinking about it, Yusuf was talking about how a couple of weeks ago the Bears should, forfeit and just, lose all their games, and now this guy has them going to the playoffs and win the first game.
I'm telling you, it's a tale of 3 seasons. It's a
Speaking,
tale of
can
3
I just
seasons.
say one thing? Speaking of funny, Daniel just finished telling us that he wants to fire the coach and the GM right after
I'm
they
talking
get
about
to
the
the
future. I
playoffs.
said we
How does
have a
that
good.
work?
Well, listen. I mean, I'm talking about the realistic, the way they're playing. Beating the Jaguars is very doable, and if the Packers don't play anyone, they're gonna. They should be able to beat them as well. And I feel like the Cardinals are going to lose one of the games. I'm not going to be like Yusuf and pick them to win the first game. I think they're going to lose in the first round. But I feel like they are going to make the playoffs. And then
Why
when it
do you
comes to
want them
NFC
in the playoffs? Why do you want them? They're gonna have a
we're
lower
Bears
draft
fans.
pick.
You're
You're gonna have a
just
lower.
want to see.
I thought you were looking for the future. You're gonna have a lower draft pick. You're
But
not
we
gonna
have no
a better
draft
talent.
Future is
We
now.
have nothing. We have
I
no
don't think
draft picks. We have nothing.
No, we don't have anything.
Also,
so
if you
let's
want
just-
change,
let us enjoy. Let us enjoy.
Listen, if
This
you
is all
want
we have,
changes,
okay?
if you want changes in the organization, you miss the playoffs.
That's
If
what
they
I
make
was
the
I don't
playoffs,
think so.
But here,
not
if they
not
make
when
the
you're 8
playoffs,
and 8.
no, no,
they're
no,
not
It's not
making
going to
any
help.
Here,
They're not
no,
making
It's not
any
going to help
changes.
with 8 and 8.
Hold on. Yeah, exactly. Let me tell you something. At this point, I think ultimately Matt Nagy is going to stay regardless, whether or not me and Danielle like it. And
Yeah.
even if the Bears finish 8 and 8, it's in that category of, oh well, we can make adjustments and we can build off of it. So we really are caught in a tough place. And at this point, man, I rather just have my team in the playoffs.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
and it's
so,
not gonna
so
end
you're
right now.
talking. So wait,
Let
wait.
me just
time
enjoy
out.
this, okay?
Time out. Time out. You're talking about the realistic, right, Yusuf? That this
Yeah.
is what realistically can happen. But you have Derrick Henry winning MVP. How's that
Everything's
realistic?
realistic to Yusuf.
Hey man,
that
I
realistic?
think he should. The question was who I think should be the MVP.
I said who should be the question was who should be MVP, not who you think who should be the MVP.
What is going on? All right,
No.
can we come back to my answer?
Oh yeah,
No,
we-
no,
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 no.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Daniel.
So yeah, NFC. I didn't say who's gonna come out. So I like it. Like everyone's mentioned, Packers have the best record, and they look like they're the most poised. And I do have Rodgers coming, winning the MVP, but I do not have them as coming out of the NFC. A couple other teams that we didn't talk about. Bucks. I mean, I know
Bucks?
they've been the Bucks. They're falling under the radar. I'm not saying that they're going to come out, but I'm just saying we're kind of missing out on them. They have struggled, but they have a lot of talent, and they have Tom Brady, who's clutch in the playoffs. So I think that's something we're not talking about enough.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, the Seattle Seahawks are also coming out of the NFC. I see them coming out because they have too much talent. Wilson, Metcalf, solid running game, and they have a really, really good coach. In the playoffs, I believe it's all about the quarterback and the coach, and that's the difference, in my opinion, between the Packers and the Seahawks. And I trust Wilson. I mean, I trust Rodgers too, but I think Pete Carroll has that experience. His team has that experience in the playoffs, so I think that's going to help them. And their defense isn't terrible either. When you think about it, they are 7th in sacks and 10th in interceptions, so that's not terrible. And in these games, it doesn't matter about how many yards you give up; it's about how many turnovers you can create. And Carson he was injured, but he's a really, really solid running back. He averages 5.1 yards per carry, which is top 5. So with all those components, I feel like the Seattle Seahawks are going to come out of NFC, and I think they're going to be playing the Packers, and they're going to beat the Packers to represent the NFC. And then it's going to be NFC is going to be represented by the Seahawks, and AFC with the Chiefs. And I have the Chiefs repeating with just too much talent over there. So that is my playoff outlook for this coming year.
One thing I think Danielle touched upon it with having the Packers lose. I think one of the main things that we're overlooking in the year, Packers have 11 wins, right? Only one of those wins has been against a team with a winning record. So keep that in mind. They got blasted by the Buccaneers 38-10, and they lost to the Colts as well. So two teams with better-ish defenses on the road.
And they lose to the Bears too.
Okay. So I'm talking about realistic things. So, but keep that in mind. Seahawks have had a really, really tough road, and getting to this point in the season, they're getting their defense better. Jamal Adams is starting to catch fire as being the leader of that defense as a safety, and so he's playing a lot better. Chris Carson, as he alluded to, so that's why I think that the Seahawks probably are going to be the favorites in the NFC. I just don't think when it comes to coaching, when I see Packers versus Seahawks, I see Wilson versus Rodgers, and I do think Rodgers is superior quarterback, sure, but I do think that the difference in coaching will make that difference. And Carroll is that much more experienced and better coach than Matt LaFleur is. Not a gripe at Matt LaFleur, but he just hasn't proven it, because last year in the NFC Championship game, what was the one thing everybody was talking about for the Packers? They can't stop the run. And who did they face in the championship game? The 49ers. And what happened? They ran for over 250 yards against the Packers. Same thing could happen. Absolutely. Because it's the one thing that's plagued them for basically Rodgers' entire career, and they haven't surprisingly fixed it. And I think that's what's going to be their letdown too. Not Rodgers, their defense.
So you guys brought up a couple great points of items that we haven't talked about. One thing that I'm very interested on is we all picked the Chiefs to come out of the AFC, but we haven't really talked about how difficult it is for a team to repeat, especially in the NFL. Do you guys see any weaknesses in the Chiefs team that may cost them a championship this year?
It's easy. It's their defense. That's it. There's nothing. The only small, I guess, difference their offense could have is Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out for the rest of the season, possibly into the playoffs. But if they get the bye, which they probably will, he might be back. But I don't think, because their running game, you see how the Chiefs operates a lot different. Their passing game opens up their running game, not the other way around, which is why they've been so difficult to stop, because they have such a multitude of weapons anywhere across the field, from short, intermediate, deep. They can get the ball anywhere, especially with how creative and smart and strong-armed Mahomes is. But more than that, how good of an offensive genius Andy Reid is. So I think their offense will be fine. Again, barring major injury. I just think Hill doesn't get enough credit. I think he gets disrespected. I think he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And obviously Kelsey is far and ahead the best tight end in football right now. And as he's about to break the NFL record for receptions and yards as a tight end. So that's much respect. Shout out to Travis Kelsey for doing that. But I think it'll be just their defense. That's it. And if anything, it'll be a shootout. And I'm going to put my money on the Chiefs in a shootout. Just saying.
That's my thoughts exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Daniel.
I mean, I agree with Obaid for the most part. I think the only thing that I can see leading to a Chiefs loss before, winning the Super Bowl is, injuries, as Obaid mentioned. That's something that we can't control, and anything is possible. And the other is the Tennessee Titans, in my opinion. You need a good team that can run the ball, take off time, and not have Mahomes with the ball. I think that's something that could give them trouble. And like last year, I know the Kansas City Chiefs were.
Hold up. Let me make sure I understand this. You're picking the Tennessee Titans as the team with the most potential to knock out the Chiefs because of Yusuf's MVP pick. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, Derrick Henry, let's do it.
Because the thing is, you need to play it. I mean, to beat the Chiefs, in my opinion, you got to have a better quarterback, which a lot of teams won't, or you got to have a running game that can keep the ball out of Mahomes' hand, and that's something Derrick Henry is going to be able to do. So I'm saying that is the only thing that I can see. A running game, if Henry goes for 250, which is possible in the playoffs, and keeps the ball away from Mahomes, and Mahomes has a turnover here or there, it's going to be a close game, and that can lead, to the Titans winning it. And the Titans have the number one offense in points. They average more points than the Chiefs. So in that opinion, I think the Titans can have a chance beating Mahomes and the Chiefs when it comes to the AFC showdown.
I mean, they proved last year they couldn't. So I don't think much.
It's not
has
last
changed.
year. It's not last year though.
It's not. You're right.
Yeah, so they learned maybe
Listen.
experience helps.
You're right. You're right. Derrick Henry, he ran for 190 plus yards against the New England Patriots in the first round and against the Houston Texans in the second round. And so what happened when they met the Chiefs?
But didn't you say the Chiefs defense is their struggle though?
It was last year as well.
What about was it more or less last year? I mean,
they've gotten better actually. Statistically speaking, they've gotten better. The Chiefs have gotten better defensively. But all I'm saying is that their main problem would be their defense because their offense is so much better than literally any other offense in the NFL. That's the thing. That the only other by default is their defense. Their special teams, they have a top 5 kicker. Harrison Butker is a phenomenal kicker. So I have no issues with that. Steve Spagnuolo is a great defensive coordinator, and he's getting their talent back together. They'll be fine on the defense, but the only thing that could be their defense because I don't foresee any reason why their offense would be an issue. That's it.
So we agree in that sense.
I disagree that it's the Titans, number one. I disagree with that. That's all I'm saying. I just
that's fair. MVP.
They stopped him. He had
what's the hater?
190 plus in 2 straight playoff games. And how many yards did he get against the Chiefs? 69 yards. 3.6 yards per carry.
Wait, no. See, this is what I'm saying. You're not looking at the entirety of the game. The Titans were playing catch up. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So they couldn't use Derrick Henry as much as they would like to. So to go to Danielle's point, this year it's a different game. If the Titans are able to kind of not get behind quickly, then maybe they can utilize Derrick Henry. But
they weren't behind quickly. They were up until the 2-minute warning in the first half. By the way, they were up. The Titans.
So maybe they build off of that this year. I mean,
I'm just
because they built off of it.
I understand.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many better teams in the AFC than the Titans. I mean,
I think ultimately like the Bills are better than Titans too, but
I agree. Yeah. I don't put as much. I know you brought up the Browns. I just don't trust Baker Mayfield to do that.
No, I don't either. I don't think they'll go far, but they'll get the number 3 spot just because of their schedule. I feel like they're playing the Jets, bro, and then they're playing the Steelers.
They're playing the Steelers at Pittsburgh.
But the Steelers is a sinking ship. That's just
it is. Yeah. But I take Ben Roethlisberger and Mike Tomlin in that defense any day of the week over
in the playoffs. Playoffs, I will. In the playoffs,
yeah, sure.
Not in the regular season though. I think something's going on over there.
Hey, Obaid, you have who do you have again playing the Chiefs in the AFC Showdown? What team do you have the Chiefs playing in the AFC Showdown?
The Ravens.
And they're not in the playoffs, are they, yet?
Right now, they're vying for the, they're vying for the 7th spot.
Okay. So you're saying my pick is more outrageous than yours. Let's just make sure we have.
I'm not saying.
Got it. Enough.
This team, Daniel, your pick is more outrageous, even though your team beat his team last year in the playoffs.
Okay, got it. I just wanted to make clear. I just wanted to make that clear. Got it. Next.
We all understand.
I understand
better.
that.
Thank you, Daniel.
I understand that. All I'm saying
I know.
is the coaching and the team overall is getting much better. The Titans have been pretty straightforward throughout the year. The Ravens were up, then big time down, and now they're on their way up. They beat the Browns in one of the best Monday night games in recent memory. That game was phenomenal.
That was an amazing game.
I was up till 12 a.m. watching the game. It was such a fantastic game, and much
ended at like
shout out. I'm in the East Coast, by the way.
He's like, I stayed up in the East Coast.
Yeah, I'm in the East Coast, so excuse me for that. But shout out to Baker Mayfield for a great game. All right, great. I still think he's very overrated and he's not that good, but he played a great game, but nonetheless still lost to
Lamar. Insult someone and then put him up.
No, I'm here to humble everybody. Okay,
even himself.
We all need some help. Yeah, exactly. All right.
Alrighty. So those were all the topics I wanted to cover today. Obaid, Danielle, Yusuf. Is there anything else NFL related you want to touch on?
Bear down,
Makes it
baby.
cover-
That's all I gotta say.
Excited for the playoffs and excited
Yes,
to give
should
you
be very
guys the
excited.
coverage and let us know again what you guys' thoughts are, what you think of our prediction, and if there's anything that we're missing in terms of major NFL storylines, please let us know so we could bring it to you guys and give you our thoughts and opinions because we want the same from you guys. Okay.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Obaid. And I just want to remind you all that we actually dropped our NBA predictions as well on our Instagram account. So we'd love to hear your 2 cents on that. If you think Yusuf is wrong with his picks, please let us know.
And why
I
he
hope
doesn't
you-
have a 6th pick.
Yeah, he missed an entire slot in and of itself. But I want to thank you all for listening. It's been a lot of fun getting an opportunity to work with Obaid Shah, Danielle, and Yusuf on this podcast. I hope you're enjoying it as much as we're enjoying putting this together. So for those of you, just want to say happy holidays to everyone that is listening. I hope you guys are enjoying your time off. And yeah, thank you for listening.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.